The first light of dawn barely touched the frozen kingdom. Snow lay thick across the ground, untouched, silent except for the faint crunch of boots against ice. Elara moved carefully through the forest, her cloak pulled tightly around her shoulders. The cold bit at her cheeks, but she did not stop. She carried a secret, one that had followed her for months, and she knew the forest itself seemed to watch her with silent curiosity. Her breath formed clouds in the frigid air as she reached a small clearing. Here the snow was smooth, unbroken, as if waiting for her arrival. Elara bent to the ground and drew a symbol with her gloved hand. A warning, a message for those who might follow her. It was a simple shape, yet ancient and powerful, etched in the snow with care and intent. She stepped back, examining her work. The silence was broken by a low, almost imperceptible growl. Elara froze. Her heart beat faster, but she did not panic. She had learned to face fear with steady courage. The growl came again, louder this time, and from the mist surrounding the clearing they emerged, white shapes moving with grace and purpose. 30 wolves, their fur bright as snow, eyes like liquid ice, encircled her. Elara's first instinct was to run, but something stopped her. There was a strange intelligence in the wolves' gaze, a weight of purpose that made her pause. She slowly raised her hands, showing no aggression. The largest wolf, its fur shimmering with the pale light of dawn, stepped forward. It did not attack. Instead, it sniffed the air around her and then sat back on its haunches, watching. From the edge of the clearing, a shadow moved. Elara sensed it before she saw it. He stepped into the clearing, tall and broad, wrapped in dark furs that seemed to merge with the mist. His eyes were sharp, almost predatory, yet there was something familiar about the way he watched her. "You shouldn't be here," the man said, his voice low, almost a whisper, but it carried over the soft snow. "I could say the same to you," Elara replied, her voice steady. She did not flinch under his gaze. "Who are you?" "Kale," he answered simply, as if his name carried no weight, yet it did. "And you, stranger, are far from safe." Elara narrowed her eyes. "I can take care of myself." Kale's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "Can you?" he asked. The wolves shifted around her, moving silently as though acknowledging him. "These creatures, they obey me, and yet they hesitate with you. That is unusual." Elara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "Why are they here?" she asked carefully. "And why are you following me?" Kale did not answer immediately. His gaze lingered on her face as if trying to read the secret she carried. "You are part of something older than you realize," he said finally. "Something dangerous. Your bloodline, it carries a curse, one that draws attention, both from the living and from the things that are not." Elara's heart skipped a beat. She had suspected as much, but hearing it aloud made the forest feel heavier, as if the trees themselves leaned closer to listen. "I don't understand," she said. "What curse?" "You will," Kyle said simply, his eyes fixed on hers. "Soon enough." The wolves moved closer, their eyes never leaving her. Elara felt a strange connection to them, a sense that they recognized something familiar in her. She knelt slowly, keeping her movements calm. One by one, the wolves approached, circling around her, sniffing the air, testing her. She could feel their power, raw and wild, yet disciplined. They were protectors, but they were also judges. Kyle watched silently, his expression unreadable. "They will either follow you or destroy you," he said. "It depends on your choices, and I cannot protect you from yourself." Elara met his gaze, defiance sparking in her chest. "I do not need protection. I need understanding." "You speak in riddles. If you know what is coming, tell me." Kale's eyes softened slightly, though the edge of darkness never left them. "Understanding comes with risk. If you are willing to risk yourself, then perhaps I can guide you. But first, you must trust the wolves, and trust me." The words hung in the cold air like fragile glass. Elara's chest tightened. She had always trusted herself above all else. But the truth in Kale's tone, the presence of the wolves, and the whisper of something ancient in the forest told her that her usual courage might not be enough. The largest wolf, the one who had approached first, stepped forward. It lowered its head, brushing the tips of its fur against her hands. Elara froze, then slowly extended her palm. The wolf's eyes locked with hers, and for a moment it was as if time itself held its breath. She felt a pulse, a deep rhythm that seemed to flow between her and the creature, a silent recognition that went beyond words. Kyle's voice broke the silence. "You have a gift," he said quietly. Few can command the loyalty of these wolves without being born of the forest's own magic. It is why you are here. It is why I found you. Ilara stood, her hands brushing the snow from her cloak. Then tell me what I must do, she demanded, her voice stronger now. I will not stand by and wait for fate to choose me. I will make my own path. Kale stepped closer, though he kept a careful distance. You are brave, but this path is not one you can walk alone. There are forces at work that do not sleep, and some that have been waiting for centuries to see if your bloodline would awaken. Ilara's eyes narrowed. And if they awaken? What then? Then, Kale said, his voice lowering, you will face choices that will test everything you believe about yourself. Your courage, your loyalty, even your heart. The words made her pause. The forest around them seemed to grow darker, even in the light of dawn. The snow whispered under the wolves' paws, and Ilara felt the weight of their watchful presence. Every instinct in her told her that the morning had changed everything. She could no longer ignore the power she carried, nor the dangers that came with it. Suddenly, a flicker of movement at the edge of the clearing caught her eye. A shadow, fleeting, almost unreal, drifted between the trees. Ilara tensed, sensing the presence of someone or something else. The wolves growled low, a warning that made the hairs on her neck rise. Kale's hand lifted slightly, a silent command, and the wolves shifted in unison, forming a tighter circle around her. Do not be afraid, he murmured, his eyes never leaving the dark line of the forest. Whatever comes, you will not face it alone. Ilara's breath came fast, mist curling in the air. She did not know if the shadow was friend or foe, but one thing was clear. The world she had known was gone. The forest, the wolves, Cal, they had drawn her into a story far larger than herself. And now her courage would be tested in ways she could not imagine. She glanced at the symbol she had drawn in the snow. Its lines seemed to glow faintly in the pale light, a beacon for forces she did not fully understand. And then she noticed it. A handprint in the snow, perfectly clear, lying next to hers. But she had not made it. Her heart jumped. She looked around, but the forest was still, the mist curling gently among the trees. The wolves stared at the handprint, their growls deepening, low and warning. Ilara's eyes met Kale's, and in that moment, both understood the danger had already arrived. Who, what? Ilara began. But Kale shook his head. No one speaks for what has yet to reveal itself, he said. Only prepare. The wolves shifted, their bodies tense and ready, circling around her and the mysterious mark. Ilara felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. She would not flee. She would face this new threat, whatever it might be. As the first rays of the weak dawn light filtered through the trees, Ilara realized that her life had changed forever. The forest whispered her name. The wolves' eyes held her fate, and Kale, dark, brooding, and full of secrets, stood as both her guide and her warning. And in the snow, the unexplained handprint waited. The shadow beyond the clearing had vanished with the first rays of sunlight, but its presence lingered in Ilara's mind. The handprint in the snow remained, perfectly clear, as if waiting for her to acknowledge it. The wolves circled, silent now, eyes sharp and alert. Kale's expression was unreadable, but his hand hovered near the hilt of a dagger at his waist, a subtle warning that danger was far from over. We cannot linger here, he said finally, his voice low, carrying an edge of urgency. This place, it draws attention. There are eyes that watch, and not all are of this world. Ilara nodded, though her pulse still raced from the previous encounter. She rose slowly, brushing snow from her cloak, feeling the power in her veins stir at the sight of the wolves. Then where do we go? She asked. You said you would guide me. Kale's gaze swept the forest, calculating and wary. The ruins, he said. Deep within the cursed forest lies a place older than kingdoms, older than the snow that blankets these lands. There you may begin to understand your role, and the curse that follows you. The forest thickened as they moved. Trees bent low, their branches heavy with frost, creating tunnels of shadow that shifted as the wind whispered through them. The wolves padded silently alongside, their presence both comforting and ominous. Every crack of a branch or flutter of snowflakes made Ilara's senses sharpen. The forest seemed alive, as if it breathed with anticipation. Tell me, Ilara said after a while, her voice steady though her heart still raced. What curse? My family, my bloodline. What does it mean? Kale's gaze fell to the ground, watching his boots press into the snow. Long ago an ancestor of yours crossed the wrong spirit, he said carefully. A queen of the forest, one who held power over life and death. She cursed your line, binding it to the forest. Those born of your blood can awaken its magic, or be consumed by it. Ilara's breath caught. Consumed? She whispered. How? Cale shook his head, his dark hair brushing the edges of his hood. Not by fire or sword, he said, but by shadows that watch, by creatures that obey ancient commands, and by the forest itself when it deems you unworthy. Few have survived its tests. The wolves shifted closer, their eyes glinting like ice under the weak sun. Ilara felt a pulse in her chest, a rhythm that echoed through the snow. Something inside her stirred, something powerful and alive. The handprint from the morning seemed to pulse faintly, almost in time with her heartbeat. Cale glanced at her, noting the change. You feel it, he said, almost softly. The magic inside you. It is awakening. Ilara swallowed hard. Then why did it choose me? Because you are brave enough to face it, Cale said. Brave enough to survive what others could not. The ruins came into view just as the sun rose higher, casting pale light over crumbling stone walls that leaned under centuries of snow and ice. Ivy, frozen stiff, clung to the stones, and frost-covered statues of creatures, wolves, deer, and strange hybrid beasts, watched them silently. The air was heavy with magic, the kind that made skin tingle and hair lift. Kyle led her through the entrance, a wide arch of cracked stone. Inside, the temperature shifted. The cold was sharper here, more focused, as if the ruins themselves held a memory of the forest's power. The wolves did not enter, but stayed at the threshold, their eyes fixed on Ilara as if guarding her. This is where it begins, Cale said. Here you will meet what has been waiting for you, and you will learn whether you can wield the power of your bloodline or be destroyed by it. Ilara's heart pounded. She could feel the ancient energy in the air, thick and palpable. The ruins were quiet, but she sensed movement in the shadows. Figures flitted just beyond her vision, leaving trails of frost that shimmered faintly. Will I be safe? She asked, though even she knew the answer would be uncertain. Cale stepped closer, his presence commanding yet protective. Safe is not a word the forest uses, he said. But you will not face this alone. I will stay as long as you trust me. Ilara's eyes met his, and for a moment she felt something beyond fear, something deep, like a tether between their souls. The tension in the air was almost unbearable, but it was not just danger that made her pulse quicken. It was the silent understanding that they were drawn together by more than circumstance. They moved deeper into the ruins, passing through halls where the ceiling had collapsed, leaving beams of cold sunlight that lit the frozen dust. Ilara noticed markings on the walls, ancient symbols etched into the stone, glowing faintly in the morning light. She traced them with her fingers, feeling a hum of recognition. They are older than anything in the kingdom, Kyle said, noting her attention. They speak of power, of allegiance, and of sacrifice. You must learn them. Your ability to control the wolves, to awaken your blood, depends on it. Ilara nodded, absorbing the weight of his words. She could feel the wolves at the threshold, waiting as if they understood the importance of this moment. Her courage steadied. If she were to survive, she would need to embrace what she was. Cale led her to the central hall of the ruins, where a frozen fountain lay at the center, cracked and empty. Snow had drifted into its basin, covering the edges of intricate carvings. Cale knelt, brushing the frost aside, revealing a symbol similar to the one Ilara had drawn in the forest clearing. This, Cale said, is the mark of the Forest Queen. It binds all who carry her curse. If you wish to awaken the wolves fully, to claim the protection they offer, you must trace this mark and accept the connection it demands. Ilara studied the mark. Her fingers itched to touch it, to draw its lines with the same care she had used in the snow. Fear and determination warred within her. She thought of the wolves outside, of the power in her veins, and of Cale, whose presence was both a warning and a comfort. Slowly, she knelt and traced the symbol. A shiver ran through her body, a surge of warmth in the freezing air. The snow outside the ruins stirred. The wolves growled low, their voices almost human in their resonance, and then, one by one, they howled, a long, mournful sound that echoed through the forest and seemed to awaken the ruins themselves. Cale watched her, his expression unreadable. Good, he said finally. You are ready to claim your place. But know this, awakening the wolves will not end the danger. It will only mark you further. Eyes will watch, enemies will test you, and the shadows that follow me may not leave you untouched. Ilara looked at him, determination burning in her eyes. Then I will face them, she said. I will not run. Not anymore. Kyle's lips curved into a faint smile, almost proud, almost wary. That courage, it is rare. Few possess it, and yet it may not be enough. The past of this forest and your own bloodline demand more than bravery. They demand heart. Ilara felt her pulse quicken. Heart, courage, survival. She had survived many dangers before, but never like this. The forest, the wolves, Kale, the curse, they were all part of a story larger than she could yet imagine. And yet, she knew she could not turn away. As they prepared to leave the ruins, the shadow from the morning stirred again at the edge of the clearing outside. Ilara froze. The wolves growled low, ears pricked, tails stiff. Kale's hand moved to the dagger at his side. Someone or something follows us, he said, voice calm but sharp. We may not see it yet, but it is there. And it will not wait. Ilara nodded, her eyes on the darkened trees. Fear threatened to creep in, but she pushed it aside. She had faced the wolves, the forest, and her own doubts. Whatever waited in the shadows, she would meet it. Not as a victim, but as someone who had begun to understand her power. The wolves remained at the ruins' threshold, howling softly, a warning and a promise. Ilara felt their loyalty, a strange comfort as she turned to Kyle. He was watching her, his dark eyes holding secrets and unspoken words. In that moment, she realized that the bond forming between them was more than necessity. It was trust, fragile and untested, yet undeniable. As they stepped from the ruins and into the forest, the wind shifted, carrying a sound that was almost a whisper. The handprint in the snow from the morning seemed to fade, but the sense of unseen eyes did not. Ilara's heart beat fast, anticipation and fear mingling. The forest had chosen her, and now she would walk deeper into its heart, where danger and destiny waited in equal measure. The forest had grown darker as they moved deeper into its heart. The snow, once soft and welcoming, was now jagged and uneven, as if the earth itself had shifted to make their journey harder. The wolves followed at a distance, their white forms flickering through the mist, eyes sharp and unyielding. Ilara's breath came in visible clouds, her heart beating in rhythm with the faint pulse she had felt since awakening her power. Kyle led the way, his expression solemn, as if he carried the weight of centuries on his shoulders. We are close, he said, his voice low. The heart of the forest waits. There you will face the source of your bloodline's curse. It is not merciful, and it tests not only your courage but your soul. Ilara nodded, her resolve hardening. She had survived the wolves, the ruins, and the first whispers of the shadow that followed them. Now she would confront the forest itself, and whatever ancient power lay at its center. They reached a clearing where the snow was untouched, save for a single circle of black ice, as smooth as glass. The air here was thick, heavy with magic, and the wind seemed to pause as if holding its breath. Kale stopped, turning to her. This is the place, he said. Step inside and the forest will judge you. The wolves' allegiance, your power, even my own curse, all will be tested. Once you enter, there is no turning back. Ilara took a deep breath, feeling the pull of destiny in her chest. She stepped forward, placing one foot onto the black ice. It was colder than any snow, seeping into her bones, yet she did not falter. With each step, the air shimmered, and the forest seemed to lean closer, observing, waiting. A voice, soft and musical, yet tinged with frost, filled the clearing. Who dares awaken the bloodline? It asked, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once. Ilara's heart tightened, but she held her ground. I am Ilara, she said, her voice steady despite the fear creeping through her. I am of this bloodline, and I claim what is mine. I do not fear the forest nor its curse. The voice seemed to laugh, a sound like ice cracking. Brave words, it said. But courage alone does not break a curse. Sacrifice, trust, and heart are required. Prove them, child of snow and shadow. Suddenly, the black ice shifted beneath her feet. Shadows rose, forming shapes of twisted trees, frozen beasts, and figures of past generations, heroes and villains alike, their faces frozen in silent screams. Ilara's pulse quickened, but she did not step back. She felt the rhythm of her own magic, the bond with the wolves, and the presence of Kale behind her. You are not alone, Kyle said, his voice a steady anchor. Remember that. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, letting the power within her flow freely. When she opened them, a soft light radiated from her hands, touching the shadows around her. The figures wavered, some bowing, some fleeing, but none attacking. The forest tested her will, her courage, and her heart, and she met each test with calm determination. The wolves outside howled in unison, their sound a bridge between the mortal world and the forest's magic. Slowly, one by one, the shadows receded, leaving only the black ice and the circle of snow around it. A figure appeared at the center, a woman clothed in frost and flowing white robes. Her eyes were cold yet sorrowful, and her presence radiated both authority and melancholy. "I am the queen," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "I cursed your line because of betrayal, because of greed, because of the desire to control what was not yours. Now, child, you stand before me. Will you accept the bond, the power, and the price that comes with it?" Alara swallowed, feeling the weight of the moment. She glanced at Cale, whose dark eyes held concern and quiet pride. The bond he spoke of, the wolves, the magic, their shared fates, was immense, but she understood that refusing now would mean death or exile from the forest's protection. "I accept," she said firmly. "I accept the bond and I accept the responsibility. I will not fear what I am meant to be." The queen's eyes softened slightly. "Very well," she said. "Then let the forest witness your courage and let your bloodline awaken fully." A sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, lifting snow into spiraling patterns that danced like fire. The black ice cracked, revealing the purest light beneath, and the wolves outside surged forward, leaping onto the ice, their howls merging with the wind and the magic of the forest. Alara felt a warmth spread through her, a surge of strength and clarity. The bond was complete. The wolves were hers, not as servants, but as allies, loyal to her and to the magic that now flowed in her veins. Cale stepped forward, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "You have done it," he said quietly. "You have claimed your power, and with it you have faced the curse without fear. Few could have done what you did." Alara looked at him, her chest still racing. "I could not have done it without you," she said honestly. "Your presence, your guidance, it mattered." Cale's expression softened, the shadow of doubt that had haunted him for so long easing slightly. "And I could not have guided anyone as strong as you," he admitted. "Strength and courage, yes, but also heart. That is what breaks the curse. That is what saves us both." For a moment the forest was silent except for the whisper of the wind through the trees. Then the queen's voice spoke again, softer this time. "You have passed, child. You are of this forest now, protector and heir. Go forth with wisdom, courage, and heart." Alara felt a weight lift from her chest, a warmth replacing the icy fear that had gripped her since dawn. The wolves gathered around her, their eyes bright and alert, a living testament to her triumph. She knelt, letting her hand brush across their fur, feeling their loyalty and trust. Kyle stood beside her, his dark figure sharp against the snow. "The forest has marked you," he said quietly. "And in doing so, it has changed both of us. Your courage has freed more than just yourself. It has freed me as well." Alara looked up at him, realizing the depth of his words. Cale's curse had followed him for decades, binding him to the shadows, binding him to the forest. Her courage, her acceptance of the bond, had loosened those chains. The realization made her heart beat faster, a mix of awe, relief, and something deeper that she did not yet name. "You are free?" she asked softly. He nodded, though his eyes never left hers. "In part," he said. "The forest watches and the wolves will guide me. But it is your courage that has given me a choice, to remain bound to darkness or to step into the light with you." Alara's breath caught, and she felt a strange warmth in her chest. The bond they shared, forged in danger and courage, had grown beyond fear and necessity. It was trust, respect, and something far more profound, an unspoken understanding that their fates were now intertwined. The forest seemed to hum with quiet approval, the wind carrying the sound of distant howls that were no longer threats but a song of victory and belonging. The snow beneath their feet sparkled, touched by the magic that now coursed through Alara, through Cale, and through the wolves who circled them like guardians of an ancient secret. Alara stepped closer to Cale, her hand brushing against his. He did not pull away, and for a moment the world seemed to hold its breath. No words were needed. The bond they had forged, tested by courage, shadow, and ancient magic, spoke louder than any vow could. They had survived the forest's trial, claimed their power, and awakened something eternal between them. Yet, even as the forest seemed at peace, a whisper of warning lingered in the wind. The shadows that had followed Cale, the handprint that had appeared in the snow, the unseen eyes, they had not vanished. They waited, silent and patient, watching the new bond that had been forged. Alara looked at the wolves, at Kyle, at the sun breaking through the mist, and felt a sense of destiny settle over her. Whatever came next, she would face it with courage, with heart, and with the allies she had chosen, the wolves, the forest, and Kale. And in that moment, she knew that this was only the beginning. The wolves howled again, a chorus that echoed through the trees, a sound of triumph, of loyalty, and of power awakened. Among them, a small white pup stepped forward, its eyes glowing faintly, a reminder that the forest's magic was alive, that its secrets were far from fully revealed, and that their story, her story, was only beginning. Alara turned to Kale, and for the first time she smiled fully, without fear. "We did it," she said softly. "Yes," he replied, his eyes dark yet gentle. "But the forest, it will always watch, and so will I." The snow shimmered around them, the wolves gathered close, and for the first time Dawn felt warm, full of promise, and alive with the magic of courage, heart, and destiny.